And enabled, we're going to set to true to enable health monitoring. And then the heartbeat interval we're going to set to 0, so we will not get any heartbeat events. Then we're going to add 3 sub-elements to health monitoring. We're going to specify some event mapping information. We're going to specify a profile. And then we're going to specify some rules. So first for event mappings. So we want to add, and the name will be custom web request event. And the type will be hdi.web.management.custom-web-request-event. And that does it for our event mappings. That adds our event that we created over in our class library project. Now for a profile, we want to add a profile, and the name of it we'll call custom, and the minimum instances equals 1, and the maximum limit will be equal to infinite, and then the minimum interval will set to all zeros, so it will occur all the time. Then down to the rules. First thing we want to do is clear any existing rules, and then we're going to add a new rule. And we'll call this custom web request events, or event. And then the event name will be from up there on line 19, which is custom web request event. The profile will be our custom profile, and then the provider will be the event log provider. We'll use the standard event log provider that comes with health monitoring to write out these events to the event log. So let me just format this a little bit, so we should be all set and ready to test out our custom event. Let's just make our website the startup project, and we should be good to go. So now we're almost ready to test the custom web event. First, let's go over into the custom web request event class. We'll set a few breakpoints so we can see things happening. Let's set it on the formatting, the raise method, as well as both of the constructors. Okay, let's start up the website in debug mode. And we just have a blank web page, so we won't see anything on the page. But here we are, starting into the constructor of our custom event. We'll let it go from here. And next we hit the raise method, where it's creating the raise message. And if I step through and then show you the contents of the raise message, you'll see it has the information as to the time the event was raised. We'll let it go on from here. It gets into the formatting method that we created, and it's going to run through this and append a few lines to the event information. And we'll let it go. Now remember, the HTTP module had both an event raised for the begin request and end request. So here we are with our second invocation of the custom event for the end request event. So we're just going to let it go right through this. Up comes our blank web page, and let's go over to the event viewer and take a look. Let's refresh the application events. And here we have the 2 events that were fired by our custom module. And the first is an instance of our custom event. Let's go down here, and there's a bunch of information coming out. Here's our custom event details, indicating the start and end of the process for our event, as well as the time the event was created, when it was raised. And that is for the start of the event, or I should say on the begin request. And look at the second one. This represents the end request, and it has similar information down here in the custom event details. So let's go back over to Visual Studio. We'll shut down the web page. So that shows us how to use the HTTP module to raise our custom event, because as I said before, you have to explicitly raise your custom event. Another way to do it is in code, and let's simply do that by going over here to the VB class behind the default ASPX, and let's implement the onload method. And in onload, let us create an instance of our custom web event. And that is in the hdi.web.management.custom web request event equal to a new hdi.web.management.custom web request event. And we'll put the message as in the page, and we'll say me as the source of the event, and the event code. What we have to do here is type system.web.management, very similar process to what we did over in the HTTP module, and take the base, and we'll add a value of 33 to that to represent this event in the page. And then we have to take that web event and we have to raise it. So it looks like we're all set to go there. Let me actually go up. We'll leave those other breakpoints. I was going to delete them, but let's leave them, and let's put another breakpoint here when our page loads. Let's fire up the website again, and you'll see that we're going into the onBegin request. We're going to step through this. Coming in here to our loading of the page, we're going to create a instance of our event. Let me step into that. You see we come into the constructor here with our information from the page load. Let me just hold that over a message, and there's our in the page message. We'll let it step through the different aspects of this. Up comes our web page. Let's go over to the event viewer. Here's our two events from the first time we ran it. Let's refresh things. Now we have some new ones, and the first one represents the onBegin request. The second one represents the event being raised in the page load method, and the third one represents the onEnd request. Back over to Visual Studio. Let's shut down the website. So this has been an example of how to create a custom health monitoring event. We created the custom web request event class, which represents our custom health monitoring event. Then in order to raise it, we had to explicitly raise it, so we looked at two ways. One was we created a custom HTTP module, and then we went over, created a sample website, put the necessary information in web.config, and also raise the event in the code behind the default ASPX page. So I encourage you to download the sample source code that comes with this video, look at this sample in detail, and then adapt it to meet your needs in your application. This is Chris Pelz. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to create a custom health monitoring event in ASP.